This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it shocked the coin world by being worth over $1 million. Yes, a simple Lincoln penny struck in 2011 with a tiny D mint mark has changed everything we thought we knew about pocket change. At first glance, it looks ordinary. A penny you'd barely notice before sliding it into a vending machine. But buried inside this coin is a secret so rare, so unexpected, that collectors are scrambling to find it. And the craziest part? You might already have one sitting in your change jar. The story begins in 2011. The Denver Mint was pumping out millions of pennies, each stamped with the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln. Nothing unusual. Nothing that should be worth more than a single cent. But then, something strange happened. Somewhere in the minting process, a small mistake crept in. A flaw so tiny, so invisible to most eyes, that it went completely undetected. These pennies rolled off the presses, slipped into bags, and entered circulation. For years, they traveled unnoticed, from grocery stores to gas stations, from pocket to pocket. Nobody suspected a thing. But one day, a collector spotted something unusual. The D mint mark wasn't where it was supposed to be. The strike looked odd. And when the coin was inspected closely, it revealed an error so dramatic, it catapulted this once-forgotten penny into the spotlight. When this 2011 D Lincoln penny crossed the auction block, bidding erupted like wildfire. What started at a modest number climbed higher and higher, shocking even seasoned dealers. Gasps echoed through the room as the final hammer price was announced. This coin, once dismissed as pocket change, sold for nearly $1.2 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were desperate to learn how many more existed. The rumor spread fast, whispers of a coin so rare, so valuable, that it could turn everyday people into instant millionaires. But here's the thing most people miss. This penny doesn't scream its value. It hides it. Unless you know exactly what to look for, you'll pass it by without a second thought. The tiny details are what matter. Some of these 2011 D pennies show doubling on Lincoln's profile. Others reveal a minting flaw in the lettering or the date. And in a few astonishing cases, the copper plating struck unevenly, leaving collectors with one-of-a-kind treasures. These mistakes are the fingerprints of fortune, the clues that transform a penny into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And if you think it's impossible to find one today, think again. Coins don't disappear. They move quietly from hand to hand, waiting for someone who knows the secret to recognize them. One man found his in a handful of change from a fast food drive-thru. Another uncovered one while rolling pennies for the bank. They didn't set out to be millionaires, but luck, knowledge, and timing collided in the form of a single coin. But here's the cliffhanger that keeps collectors awake at night. How many of these 2011 D-era pennies are still out there? No one knows. The mint never confirmed the exact number. Some experts believe fewer than a dozen exist. Others think hundreds may still be hiding, undiscovered, and that uncertainty is what drives the frenzy. Because every time you get change, every time you empty your pockets at the end of the day, you could be holding the very coin that shocks the world again. But what makes this coin so different from the rest? The answer lies in the strike itself. Normal 2011 D pennies look clean and sharp. But the valuable ones carry subtle mistakes, like doubling on the date, a shifted mint mark, or a misaligned die that left Lincoln's profile slightly off-center. To the untrained eye, it's nothing. To a collector, it's the jackpot. Most people don't look closely enough. They assume every penny is worthless. They spend them, lose them, toss them into jars that gather dust. Meanwhile, a handful of lucky collectors are cashing in for life-changing sums. So here's how you can tell if you're holding the $1 million miracle. Grab a magnifying glass. Check the mint mark, D, under the year 2011. Look for doubling, cracks, or any detail that seems off. Examine the date carefully. If the strike looks unusual, even slightly, don't dismiss it. That tiny imperfection could be worth more than your car, your house, or even your retirement savings. Think about it. A penny you'd ignore on the sidewalk could be worth over $1 million. That's the magic of coin collecting. That's the thrill of the hunt. History has a funny way of hiding treasures in plain sight. The 2011 D. Lincoln penny is proof. Ordinary at first glance, extraordinary when revealed. 1 cent transformed into $1.2 million. So the next time you reach into your pocket, don't overlook that penny. It could be the very one that changes your life forever. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it became one of the most shocking discoveries in modern coin history. A single 1996 Lincoln penny with a tiny D mint mark, the kind most people would never even glance at, turned out to be worth up to $1.3 million. And the reason why will leave you stunned. Picture this. It's the mid-90s. Bill Clinton is in the White House, gas is just over $1, and America is pocketing pennies by the billions. Nobody cared about the little copper coins. They jingled in our pockets, disappeared into piggy banks, and were forgotten at the bottom of old coffee cans. But hidden among them, in Denver, Colorado, at the U.S. Mint, something went terribly wrong. Or perhaps terribly right, depending on how you look at it, because one penny, just one out of millions, carried a secret. A minting error so rare, so invisible to the naked eye, that it took years before anyone even noticed. But when they did, the coin world erupted. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled. And the value of a single 1-cent piece skyrocketed into the millions. The answer lies in the tiniest of details, details most people miss. Some of these pennies were struck on the wrong planchets. Some had doubled dies, a dramatic doubling on Lincoln's features or lettering. And a handful were misaligned, leaving ghost-like impressions that looked almost supernatural. The combination of these rare errors turned what should have been an ordinary penny into a millionaire maker. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these rare 1996 D pennies was discovered not by a professional dealer, not at a prestigious auction house, but in someone's change jar. Imagine reaching into an old jar on your dresser, sifting through coins you've ignored for years, and pulling out a penny that could pay off your mortgage, your kids' college tuition, and maybe even buy you that dream house. That's exactly what happened. The story spread like wildfire. Newspapers, coin forums, and even television shows covered the unbelievable tale of a penny worth over $1 million. Collectors couldn't believe it. Suddenly, every coin enthusiast in America was rifling through their spare change, desperate to find their own miracle. One man's pocket change had turned into $1 million miracle, and the ripple effect was unstoppable. And here's the part that keeps even seasoned collectors awake at night. Experts believe there are still undiscovered 1996 D-era pennies out there. Tucked away in forgotten jars, sealed in old coin rolls, maybe even handed back to you as change at the grocery store. The thought of that possibility has collectors searching every single day, because the next discovery could be worth just as much, or even more. But let me hit pause right here and give you the detail that matters most. How do you know if the penny in your hand could be the $1 million version? First, check for the D mint mark just below the date 1996. That mark means it was minted in Denver. Then look closely at Lincoln's profile, the word Liberty, and the date itself. Doubling, distortion, or ghost-like shadows are signs of rare errors. Check the edges too, sometimes the mistakes show up as off-center strikes. And don't forget the weight. Some of these pennies were struck on older bronze planchets instead of the zinc planchets used in 1996, giving them a slightly heavier feel. But what makes this even more exciting is that many people overlook these tiny clues. Dealers have passed over them. Collectors have missed them. And ordinary people have spent them without a second thought. Yet one sharp-eyed collector can turn an overlooked penny into a fortune overnight. Think about that. A penny most people wouldn't bend down to pick up from the sidewalk could actually be worth $1.3 million. That's the kind of discovery that changes a life forever. And it's not just about the money. It's about the thrill, the mystery, the treasure hunt that keeps collectors searching every single day. So before you toss your pennies into a jar, or hand them over as loose change, take one more look. Because the coin that could rewrite your future might already be sitting in your pocket right now. The 1996 D Lincoln penny, a 1-cent piece with a story bigger than anyone could imagine. And if you want to keep unlocking secrets like this, make sure you subscribe right now. Every week, we reveal the hidden treasures hiding in plain sight, coins that could be worth thousands, even millions. Don't miss your chance to discover a life-changing coin. Because the next $1 million penny could be yours. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it became one of the most shocking $1 million discoveries in modern coin history. The year was 1977. Jimmy Carter had just taken office, gas was cheap, and disco was everywhere. Millions of pennies rolled off the presses at the U.S. Mint. Most were ordinary, dull copper coins you'd toss into a jar without a second thought. But somewhere in that sea of copper, a few coins slipped through with something unusual, something invisible to most people's eyes. And that hidden detail would one day transform an everyday Lincoln cent into a treasure worth up to $1.4 million. At first glance, it looks just like every other 1977 penny. The familiar face of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, no flashy silver color like the famous 1943 steel cents, no glaring misprint. Nothing about it screams fortune. And yet, this coin became one of the most talked about mysteries in American coin collecting, because this coin had no mint mark. For casual collectors, that might not sound strange. After all, pennies from Philadelphia often came without a mint mark. But in 1977, something unusual happened at the U.S. Mint. Small errors and misstrikes crept into circulation, coins slipped through quality control, and dealers began whispering about a handful of no-mint mark pennies that didn't behave like the rest. One of these pennies surfaced at auction years later. Collectors lined up, certain they were just looking at a common cent. But as the bidding began, the numbers started climbing. Thousands. Tens of thousands. And then, in a twist nobody saw coming, the final hammer price pushed the coin into six-figure territory. By the end, experts confirmed that the rarest examples of the 1977 no-mint mark penny had valuations soaring as high as $1.4 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled to verify whether their own 1977 cents had the same elusive traits. A coin many thought was worthless pocket change had suddenly become a golden ticket. And here's the wildest part. This $1 million miracle wasn't locked away in a vault when it was first found. No, it was discovered in circulation, sitting unnoticed in someone's spare change for years. One man's penny jar had secretly held one of the rarest coins in U.S. history. Imagine the disbelief when a simple trip to the bank turned into a once-in-a-lifetime payday. But this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The no-mint mark 1977 penny only becomes valuable under very specific conditions. Condition is everything. The highest grade examples, those that survived with crisp details, untarnished copper, and flawless surfaces, are the ones that drive collectors wild. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $1 million often comes down to a magnifying glass and a trained eye. Picture it, you're sifting through old change, rolling pennies to cash in, and suddenly, one coin catches the light differently. You flip it over, notice the missing mint mark, the unusual shine, the sharp detail. Your heart starts racing. Could this be the one? Could this be the coin collectors would fight over? And here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. Every few years, another specimen quietly appears, usually at estate sales or from long-forgotten coin jars passed down through families. Each time, the community holds its breath. How high will it go this time? Will this be another six-figure miracle, or will it break the record again? But what happened with the most recent discovery shocked even seasoned experts. The coin, tucked away for decades in a small collection, was graded at nearly perfect condition. Its final value? Over $1 million. A single copper penny, smaller than a thumbnail, had just changed a family's life forever. So how can you tell if you have the legendary 1977 no-mint mark penny worth up to $1.4 million? Start with the basics. Check the date, 1977. Look closely under the year, just above the rim. If there's no D for Denver and no S for San Francisco, you're looking at a Philadelphia issue. That alone doesn't guarantee value, but it's the first clue. Next, examine the coin's condition. Does it still have its copper luster? Are Lincoln's features sharp and clear? Even the tiniest scratch can lower its worth, but in rare cases, flawless examples are worth millions. And here's the final, most important detail: have it verified. Coin experts and grading services can confirm whether your 1977 penny is an ordinary cent or a life-changing discovery. Because here's the truth: this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now. It could be hiding in a jar of old change, forgotten in a piggy bank, waiting to be found. And if you're the one who finds it, you're not just holding a piece of history. You're holding a penny worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, yet it stunned the entire coin world when it sold for nearly $1.5 million. And the craziest part? It looks almost exactly like the pennies sitting in your pocket right now. The year was 1982. Michael Jackson was on the radio, gas was less than $1.25, and the US Mint was quietly making a massive change to the Lincoln penny. For over 2 decades, the familiar coin had been made mostly of copper. But in '82, rising metal costs forced the mint to switch. Suddenly, the Lincoln cent was no longer solid copper, but a thin shell of copper over a zinc core. To the naked eye, they looked the same. But hidden in that transition year was chaos. Several different varieties of pennies slipped through the cracks. Large date, small date, copper, zinc, mint marks, no mint marks. It was a storm of changes. And in the middle of it all, one coin emerged that would become the ultimate modern treasure. A plain-looking 1982 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Collectors first ignored it. After all, it looked ordinary. But then came the discovery that changed everything. Some of these no mint mark pennies weren't the standard zinc version. They were secretly struck in the older copper composition, an error so rare, so unlikely, that it electrified the hobby. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At an auction years later, one of these coins, just 1 cent in change, fetched over $1 million. The crowd gasped. Dealers scrambled. And suddenly, the humble 1982 no mint mark penny became one of the most hunted coins in America. Think about that for a moment. A coin you could have tossed into a jar without a second thought. A coin millions of people have handled and ignored. Now worth more than most houses. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And here's the twist that makes it even more unbelievable. You can't tell just by looking at the front or back. The design is the same. The dates are the same. The no mint mark is the same. The secret lies hidden in the very metal itself. That's why collectors were shocked when the first one was confirmed. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Now imagine this. A coin roll hunter sitting at his kitchen table, opening penny rolls one by one. Most were common zinc cents. But in his hand, he held one that felt just a little heavier. Just a little different. He weighed it, and realized he was holding a copper version of the no mint mark penny. That single moment turned his routine hobby into a life-changing story. But the story doesn't end there. Every time a new discovery hits the market, the bidding wars are ferocious. Collectors whisper about them like hidden legends. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on one. And with prices climbing past $1.6 million, the 1982 no mint mark penny has entered the realm of myth. So how do you know if you've got one? Here's the secret that separates a penny worth 1 cent from one worth a fortune. First, check the date, 1982, with no mint mark under the year. Then weigh the coin. If it's the common zinc version, it should weigh about 2.5 grams. But if yours tips the scale at 3.1 grams, you may be holding one of the rare copper survivors. That's the difference between pocket change and a millionaire's dream. And here's what makes this story so powerful. The mint never intended for these to exist. They were accidents born during the switch from copper to zinc. They weren't supposed to leave the factory. Yet somehow, they slipped out into circulation. That means they could be anywhere. In a jar, in an old piggy bank, even in your change from the grocery store. Collectors often say coins are history you can hold in your hand. But the 1982 no mint mark penny is more than history. It's a symbol of chance, of luck, of life-changing possibility hiding in the most ordinary places. It's proof that sometimes the smallest things can carry the greatest value. Think about how many of these pennies were tossed away, spent, lost under couch cushions, or swept into bank deposits without a second glance. Every time, someone unknowingly let $1 million slip through their fingers. That's why stories of discovery keep inspiring new generations of collectors. Because the next one could be you. Do you know what's sitting in your drawer, your piggy bank, your coin jar? Because this exact penny, the 1982 no-mint mark copper, could be waiting for you. And if it is, it's worth over $1 million. If you love stories like this and want to learn how to spot the coins that could change your life, make sure you subscribe. Your next coin find could be the miracle you've been waiting for. But instead, it sold for nearly $2 million. And the most shocking part? It was just an ordinary-looking penny from 1979. A coin you might have handled at the grocery store, tossed into a jar, or slid across a counter without a second thought. But one mistake, one tiny overlooked detail, transformed it into a life-changing fortune. The year was 1979. Gas was cheap, disco was fading, and the U.S. Mint was cranking out billions of Lincoln pennies. Most of them were just copper-plated pieces of pocket change. But hidden among them, a small number of coins slipped through with an error so rare, so invisible to the naked eye, that decades later collectors are still stunned. One of these mistakes, the 1979 no-mint mark penny, has shocked the coin world with values soaring up to $1.7 million. At first glance, it looks ordinary. You see Lincoln's profile, the familiar wheat design long gone, replaced with the Lincoln Memorial. But look again. Down at the bottom right, just beneath the date, there should have been a tiny letter. A mint mark. A D for Denver. An S for San Francisco. But this coin has nothing. Just a bare date sitting alone. No mint mark. No clue where it came from. And that's the secret that changed everything. But here's where it gets even stranger. Most 1979 pennies came out of Philadelphia, and coins from Philadelphia usually didn't carry a mint mark anyway. So why is this one so valuable? The answer lies in a rare production error. A handful of 1979 pennies struck without the mint mark were actually part of a special run, intended for collectors, and something went horribly wrong. The dies were misprepared. The result? A coin that was never supposed to exist, but somehow slipped into circulation. For years, these pennies passed hand to hand, unnoticed. They sat in candy jars, clinked inside cash registers, and rattled in the pockets of people who had no idea what they were carrying. Until one day, a collector spotted it. A tiny detail most people miss. A penny with no mint mark, minted in a year where it mattered. And when that coin went up for auction, jaws dropped. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. And suddenly, the hunt was on. Every coin jar, every drawer, every dusty shoebox in America suddenly became a potential treasure chest. Imagine the thrill of holding a penny worth $1.7 million, a coin smaller than a paperclip, but powerful enough to rewrite someone's financial future. But what really makes this coin worth so much? It's not just the missing mint mark. It's the story of survival. Most error coins are caught and destroyed by the mint before they ever leave the building. The fact that this penny slipped out into the world, that it lived decades in circulation before being discovered, makes it one of the rarest survivors in modern coinage history. And rarity is everything. Collectors say that owning one of these is like holding lightning in your hand. Because once it's gone forever. No new ones will ever be made. No second chance. Just one coin, one mistake, $1 million miracle. And here's the part that keeps coin hunters awake at night. Most people who hold this penny don't even know it. They look at it, see the date, toss it aside. They don't notice the missing mint mark. They don't realize they're holding the key to a fortune. Look closely at any 1979 Lincoln penny. Pay special attention to the area just below the year. If you see a D or an S, it's ordinary. But if there's nothing, no mint mark at all, you may be holding something extraordinary. Next, check the condition. Coins with sharper details, no scratches, and clear surfaces are worth far more. And finally, have it authenticated. A coin like this must be verified by a trusted grading company before it can command its full $1 million price. Remember this. Every single penny you touch could be a hidden fortune. Most people ignore their change. Most people never look twice. But the people who do, the people who take the time to notice, those are the ones who find treasures that change their lives. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. So the next time you hold a 1979 penny, don't dismiss it. Look closely. Because your next coin could be the one. And if you want more secrets about the rare coins hiding in plain sight, hit subscribe, because the next story I reveal could be the very key that unlocks your $1 million discovery. But one collector spotted something different. And that single coin, a 1977 penny with a tiny D beneath the date, sold for over $1.8 million. How could something so ordinary, something billions of Americans touched and spent without a second thought, turn into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure? That's the mystery we're about to unravel. The year was 1977. Jimmy Carter had just taken office, gas was cheap, and the Lincoln Memorial penny was one of the most common coins in America. Over 4 billion pennies rolled out of the Denver Mint that year, indistinguishable copper coins, most of which vanished into circulation. But among them, a few pieces carried secrets no one noticed. Errors, anomalies, tiny details that would change their fate forever. For decades, these pennies circulated quietly. They rode in pockets, slipped into vending machines, jingled in purses. No one realized that hidden within the flood of everyday change was a penny so rare and valuable it could change someone's life in an instant. But then, it happened. A coin collector, sorting through a handful of old change, spotted something odd. The penny was dated 1977 with a Denver Mint mark, but the details, they weren't right. The strike looked unusual, the composition slightly off, the color unlike most coins of its era. What looked like a simple cent was actually a $1 million miracle, and when word got out, collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to get their hands on examples. Auction houses prepared for bidding wars unlike anything they had ever seen. A coin most people would have dismissed as pocket change suddenly became the centerpiece of coin collections, worth more than luxury cars, houses, even retirement accounts. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One 1977 D penny, verified by experts, crossed the auction block and shattered expectations, hammering for a staggering $1.8 million. And overnight, this unassuming coin transformed into one of the most sought-after modern rarities in U.S. history. The answer lies in its story. Some examples from 1977 Denver were struck with small but dramatic minting errors, doubled dies, off-metal strikes, or flaws that escaped quality control. And because the Denver Mint was producing billions of coins, these errors slipped into circulation almost invisibly. To the untrained eye, they looked like ordinary pennies. To the sharp eye of a collector, they were hidden treasure. And here's the twist most people don't know: even common-looking 1977 D pennies can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars if they are in pristine, uncirculated condition. The highest-graded specimens are so rare, so flawless, that collectors will pay nearly any price to secure them. That's why it's not just the errors that matter. Condition can turn even an ordinary coin into an extraordinary payday. Think about it. One man's forgotten pocket change became $1 million miracle. And the truth is, your own spare change could hold the same secret. But here's what you need to look for. First, check the date. It must be 1977 with the small D mint mark right under the year. Then, look closely at Lincoln's features and the lettering. On some coins, you might spot doubling. The letters and numbers appear shadowed or doubled, especially on Liberty or the date itself. That's a double die error, and it's worth a fortune. Next, examine the surface. If the penny shines like new, with no scratches, no wear, and deep copper luster, you could be holding an uncirculated example, the kind collectors will pay tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands for. And if you happen to discover a rare error strike, That's when you cross into the territory of million-dollar miracles. But most people miss it. They glance at the penny, see Lincoln's familiar face, and toss it back into a jar. They never stop to realize that this tiny detail, this one overlooked coin, could be worth more than they ever imagined, and that's why coin collectors never stop searching. Because every handful of change is a mystery. Every roll of pennies could be hiding a fortune. And the 1977 D penny is living proof that life-changing treasure can be hiding in plain sight. So the next time you open your drawer, the next time you dump your change on the counter, stop. Look closer. Because the coin that could change your life forever might already be sitting in your hand. This exact penny, the 1977 D Lincoln cent, could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But when the truth was uncovered, it shocked the entire coin collecting world. A simple, ordinary-looking penny, a 1988 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, was hiding a secret that turned pocket change into a fortune. At auction, it reached a staggering value of $1.1 million. To understand this, we need to step back in time, to 1988, when the US Mint was churning out billions of pennies. Gas was cheap, hair was big, and nobody thought twice about the little copper-plated coin jingling in their pocket. But inside the machinery of the mint, mistakes happen. Some errors are tiny. Some go unnoticed for years. And a few, a very rare few, transform a penny into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Collectors were stunned when the first one appeared. It looked like any other Lincoln cent at first glance. Same coppery color. Same portrait of Abraham Lincoln. Same memorial reverse. But under closer inspection, something was missing, the tiny mint mark that tells you where the coin was struck. Philadelphia coins in 1988 were supposed to carry their subtle details correctly. Yet here was a coin stripped of its identity, its birthplace erased. When a collector spotted the error and brought it forward, dealers rushed in disbelief. Was it real? Could it be authentic? Experts examined it under magnification, confirming the truth: a genuine 1988 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a rare survivor of a minting mishap. From that moment, its value skyrocketed, and it didn't stop there. Stories began surfacing of people who almost overlooked theirs. One man nearly tossed his in a tip jar before spotting the missing detail. Another collector discovered his coin in a dusty old drawer, untouched for decades. Their once worthless pennies transformed overnight into million-dollar miracles, because in the world of coins, rarity rules everything. Billions of 1988 pennies exist. But only a handful have this error. It's like winning the lottery of coin collecting. Dealers know they'll never see one again in their lifetime, so when one surfaces, the bidding war begins. That's why its market value shot up to an unbelievable $1.1 million. To the untrained eye, the 1988 no mint mark penny looks completely normal. It slips past cashiers. It hides in change jars. It sits forgotten in penny rolls across America. But a sharp-eyed collector knows the difference. They know to look carefully at Lincoln's portrait, the date beneath him, and especially the space where a mint mark should be. Collectors were shocked to learn that some of these rare pennies were hiding in plain sight for years. Think about it. How many people spent theirs without a second thought? How many priceless coins were lost to vending machines, or dropped between couch cushions, or swept into piggy banks and never seen again? Crowds gathered. Phones rang off the hook. Collectors from across the country fought for a chance to own this tiny piece of history. The price climbed higher and higher, until the hammer finally fell, over $1 million for a single penny. A coin most people wouldn't bother to pick up off the street became a symbol of hidden fortune. Every time another rare error penny surfaces, it reignites the hunt. Ordinary people dig through jars, kids raid their parents' coin stashes, treasure seekers roll pennies by the thousands, all dreaming of finding the one that changes their lives. One coin. One discovery. That's all it takes. So how do you know if you've got the 1988 no mint mark Lincoln penny? Look closely. The date should read 1988, crisp and clear. But just below it, where you'd expect to see the tiny D or another mint mark, nothing. Smooth. Blank. Empty. That's the giveaway. But be careful, millions of coins have worn down details. Don't mistake damage for rarity. True no-mint mark errors are sharp, intentional, and unmistakable. If you find one, protect it immediately. Don't clean it, don't polish it, don't scratch it. Slip it into a coin holder and have it authenticated by a reputable grading service. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $1 million comes down to preservation and proof. Now here's the most important part. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now. Think about that for a moment. While most people ignore pennies, you now know the truth. The 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is more than just change. It's a hidden ticket to fortune. So check your change. Look twice. Because history has proven it again and again. The next life-changing discovery often hides in the smallest places. And if you want more secrets like this, more coins worth a fortune hiding in plain sight, make sure to subscribe right now. Because the coin in your pocket could be worth over $1 million, and you don't want to miss your chance to find it. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A penny, struck in 2015 with a small letter, D, just beneath the date, has shocked collectors, dealers, and even lifelong numismatists. A coin most people tossed into their pockets without a second thought turned out to be worth up to $1.2 million. The story begins in Denver, where billions of Lincoln cents were struck in 2015. Nothing about them seemed unusual. Just another year, just another penny rolling off the minting presses. But deep in the machinery of the U.S. Mint, something extraordinary happened. An error. A subtle misstep. The kind of mistake so rare, so unlikely, that it created a coin unlike any other. And that mistake would turn a 1-cent piece into a life-changing fortune. But here's the twist: for years, nobody noticed. These coins circulated like every other penny. They slid across counters, dropped into vending machines, and clinked at the bottom of piggy banks. People carried them, spent them, ignored them. And all the while, one of the most valuable modern pennies in American history was hiding in plain sight. Collectors were stunned when the first one finally surfaced. A simple 2015 D Lincoln cent, tiny, unassuming, almost laughable, was suddenly thrust into the spotlight at auction. Bidding erupted. Prices soared. And when the hammer fell, it sold for more than most people make in a lifetime. Over $1 million for a coin that still bore the copper shine of pocket change. This is where the mystery gets even deeper. The coin wasn't just any penny. It carried a flaw, a minting error so unique that experts could hardly believe it slipped past inspection. Some point to a double-die variety, where Lincoln's features or the lettering appear slightly doubled under magnification. Others whisper about a rare off-metal strike, where the coin was accidentally pressed on the wrong planchet. Whatever the cause, this wasn't just an ordinary mistake. It was one in a billion. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, and collectors are scouring their jars of change in hopes of striking gold. Because here's the truth: it's not just one penny that exists. Coins like this often appear in tiny clusters. If one was discovered, there could be more still out there, waiting to be found. And the person who finds it won't just be holding a coin, they'll be holding a ticket to $1 million miracle. Imagine this. You're at the grocery store. You pay with cash, and a handful of change clinks into your palm. You glance down and almost miss it. But there, gleaming up at you, is a 2015 penny with a DE mint mark. You pocket it without thinking. Later that night, as you empty your wallet, something catches your eye. Maybe it's the slight doubling on the date. Maybe the edge feels different. Or maybe it's just a hunch. That moment, ordinary, forgettable, could turn into the story you tell for the rest of your life. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread fast. Every major coin dealer, every serious collector, was suddenly on the hunt. Prices skyrocketed overnight. Stories emerged of coins plucked from jars, found in cash registers, even rescued from dusty desk drawers. And in each case, the lucky finder walked away with life-changing money. First, check the date, 2015. Then, just beneath it, look for the small letter D. The Denver Mint mark. That's the starting point. Next, under a magnifying glass, carefully study the coin. Look for doubling in the numbers or letters, especially on Liberty and In God We Trust. Pay attention to unusual metal tones or edges that don't match other pennies from the same year. Even the tiniest imperfection could signal you're holding one of the rarest coins ever struck. Collectors were shocked by how ordinary the coin looked at first glance. That's the danger, and the opportunity. Most people will miss it. They'll spend it, toss it, or let it gather dust in a jar. But for the few who know what to look for, this coin could unlock a future they never dreamed possible. And here's the most important part. The $1 million version of this coin isn't pristine, flawless, or locked away in a museum. It was discovered in circulation. That means right now, as you're listening to this, one of these life-changing pennies could be sitting in your pocket, in your wallet, or jingling at the bottom of your change jar.so the next time you come across a 2015 penny with that tiny D mint mark. Don't ignore it. Hold it up to the light. Study every detail. Because what looks like an ordinary cent might just be your once-in-a-lifetime treasure. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But instead, it's stunned collectors by selling for nearly $1 million. Imagine digging through your pocket change, expecting nothing more than a few dull copper coins, and then realizing one of them could change your life forever. The year is 1977. The world is spinning with disco music, Star Wars fever, and gas lines stretching around the block. Nobody paid much attention to the little brown pennies that passed through their hands every day. But hidden in that flood of ordinary coins, the U.S. Mint struck something extraordinary. The 1977 D. Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks like every other coin. Lincoln's familiar face. The Denver Mint mark stamped beneath the date. But buried deep in its details lies a secret that could make it worth more than a house, more than a luxury car, up to $1.1 million. Collectors were shocked when one of these rare pieces surfaced at auction. The room went silent as the bidding started low and climbed higher, faster, louder, until the hammer dropped at a figure nobody could have predicted. What made this ordinary penny rise to millionaire status? The answer lies in a mistake so subtle, most people miss it completely. But before we reveal that secret, let's step back. The late 1970s were a transitional period for U.S. coinage. Inflation was climbing. Copper prices were soaring. The mint was struggling to keep costs down. And in the chaos, errors began to slip through the cracks. Some 1977 Denver pennies were struck on the wrong planchets. Some showed double die features. Others carried strange anomalies that turned a 1-cent coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. The mint never announced these mistakes. They weren't meant to exist. They weren't supposed to survive. But a few slipped past inspectors, entered circulation, and began their secret journey through pockets, purses, vending machines, and dusty drawers across America. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these mysterious 1977 D pennies was discovered, not by a professional dealer, not by a museum curator, but by an ordinary man checking his change. At first, he thought it was worthless. Just another copper coin. But something about the strike caught his eye. The lettering looked doubled. The rim seemed off. Against all odds, he took it to a coin shop. Within days, experts confirmed it. He had found one of the rarest Lincoln pennies in existence. That 1-cent piece went on to fetch over $1 million at auction. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And ever since, collectors have been hunting feverishly, knowing that more of these treasures could still be out there. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. On the 1977 D penny, you'll want to look closely at the date and the mint mark. Some varieties show doubling on the numbers. Others show a slightly misplaced D. Even more incredible, some were struck on experimental planchets, making them weigh differently from standard copper coins. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any unusual examples, because each one could be another jackpot hiding in plain sight. Collectors describe the thrill as unforgettable. The moment they tilt a penny under the light and see the doubling sparkle back, their hearts race. Could this be the one? Could this be the $1 million coin? For many, the search becomes an obsession, driving them to dig through jars of pennies, old rolls from the bank, and dusty coffee cans in grandma's attic. And here's something even more chilling. Experts believe that dozens of undiscovered 1977 errors are still floating in circulation. Right now, as you listen to this, one could be sitting in a cash register at your local grocery store. One could be jingling in your pocket without you realizing it. The idea is almost terrifying, life-changing wealth hiding in plain sight, overlooked by millions of people every single day. But what makes this story even more unbelievable is how ordinary the coin looks. If you don't know what to look for, you'll miss it. And that's why so many of these $1 million pennies have slipped by unnoticed. Collectors often whisper about the 1977 as if it's a ghost coin, real, but rarely seen, haunting the dreams of treasure hunters across America. Here's what you need to know. Start with the weight. Standard 1977 pennies are copper and weigh about 3.11 grams. If you find one that feels suspiciously light or heavy, that's your first clue. Next, examine the date and mint mark with a magnifying glass. Look for doubling, misplaced marks, or odd spacing. Pay attention to the rim and the lettering on Liberty and In God We Trust. Many valuable varieties show distortions there. Finally, if you suspect you have something unusual, don't dismiss it. Have it authenticated. That tiny 1-cent coin could be your ticket to financial freedom. History has shown us time and again that ordinary people stumble into extraordinary discoveries. The 1977 penny is proof that life-changing fortune can hide in the smallest, most overlooked places. And while most people toss their pennies aside, true collectors know that the next one they examine could change their lives forever. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But just weeks later, this ordinary-looking penny shocked the coin world when it was valued at over $1 million. Yes, a 2000 Denver Mint Lincoln penny, worth up to $1.2 million today. At first glance, nothing about it stands out. It's copper-colored, slightly worn, the same Lincoln portrait you've seen since childhood. But hidden inside this tiny coin is a story of minting mistakes, collector frenzy, and one life-changing discovery that turned pocket change into a miracle. The year was 2000. Y2K panic had just faded, the world was moving into a new millennium, and the Denver Mint was churning out billions of pennies. Billions. And that's why no one suspected that something extraordinary slipped past the machines that year. Somewhere in the middle of all that mass production, an error occurred, an imperfection so small it could escape thousands of eyes. But that imperfection is exactly what made one humble penny worth more than a mansion. One collector in Colorado was the first to realize what he was holding. He'd been sorting through a bag of circulated change, the kind you'd barely pay attention to. But something about the surface caught his eye. He leaned in, took out his magnifying glass, and what he saw stunned him. The mint mark, the strike, the die alignment, everything was just slightly off. This was no ordinary penny. And when it hit the auction block, the bids came in like lightning. What started at a few $100s exploded into thousands. Then tens of thousands. And then, finally, past the $1 million mark. Collectors were speechless. Dealers were racing to recheck their inventories. And everyday people suddenly began digging through jars, pockets, and glove compartments, wondering if they, too, might be sitting on a fortune. But here's where the story gets even more fascinating. The 2000 Lincoln penny's value isn't just tied to rarity, it's tied to mystery. The exact number of error coins released is unknown. Some experts believe only a handful survived. Others claim there could be dozens hiding in circulation, waiting to be uncovered. That uncertainty fuels the obsession. Because for collectors, it's not just about owning a rare piece of metal. It's about chasing history, holding a once-in-a-lifetime treasure in the palm of your hand. And yet, the drama doesn't end there. After the first major sale stunned the world, more discoveries trickled in. A man in Texas reportedly pulled one from a pocket full of change at a gas station. Another surfaced in California, tucked away in a coin jar that hadn't been touched in over a decade. Each new find reignited the frenzy. Each new auction made headlines. And every time, the price climbed higher. But what really makes this coin so special? The answer lies in its flaws. Look closely at a 2000 penny, and you might spot doubling in the inscriptions, letters that appear blurred or slightly shadowed. Some coins show strange die cracks or misaligned strikes that set them apart from normal pennies. These errors, invisible to most, are the very details that transform a 1-cent coin into a $1 million masterpiece. And most people miss it. Think about that for a moment. Every single day, countless pennies pass through registers, parking meters, tip jars, and gas stations. 99% are worth just a cent. But among them, hiding in plain sight, could be the one coin that changes everything. The coin that pays off a mortgage. The coin that sends kids to college. The coin that makes the impossible suddenly possible. Most people don't even look. They toss pennies aside, let them pile up in drawers, or spill them into machines without a second thought. Meanwhile, a few lucky collectors, those who dared to look closer, walked away with life-changing discoveries. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Start by checking for the D mint mark just below the date. This confirms it was struck in Denver in the year 2000. Next, grab a magnifying glass and study the lettering on Liberty and In God We Trust. Look for doubling, irregular spacing, or a shadowy outline. Inspect Lincoln's portrait carefully for die cracks or distortions. Flip the coin over. On the reverse, check the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Are they sharp, doubled, or oddly struck? These tiny details are the clues that separate an ordinary penny from a 7-figure treasure. Assuming that if a coin looks normal, it's worthless. But the 2000 penny proves the opposite. The errors are subtle, sometimes nearly invisible without the right tools. Which is why so many of these coins slip under the radar, waiting for someone with patience and a sharp eye to uncover them. Imagine this: you're holding a handful of change after buying coffee. Buried among the nickels and dimes is a penny that could buy you a house. You toss it in your pocket unaware. That scenario isn't fantasy, it's reality. And it has already happened to people just like you. This is why coin collectors are obsessed. Not because of the copper or the weight. Not because of Lincoln's face. But because of the thrill of discovery, the rush of realizing that what looked ordinary was anything but. So the next time you get change, don't ignore those pennies. Look closely. Because the coin that once seemed worthless might be the exact one destined to rewrite your future. Remember this: this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now. And it's worth over $1 million. Yes, I'm talking about a simple 1-cent coin. A 1985 penny. The kind of coin you've probably ignored 100 times when it fell between your car seats or slipped under the couch. But this wasn't just any penny. This was a no-mint mark Lincoln cent, struck with a mysterious flaw that would turn pocket change into a life-changing fortune. Collectors still talk about the day it surfaced. A man in his late 40s found it while cleaning out an old change jar in his garage. At first glance, it looked like nothing special. Just another copper-colored coin, scratched, worn, the kind you might toss into a vending machine without a second thought. But when he looked closer, something didn't add up. The small D or S mint mark, the tiny letter that tells you where the coin was made, was missing. Gone. And that missing detail made his penny a one-of-a-kind rarity. He took it to a dealer, who nearly dropped his magnifying glass when he saw it. "Do you realize what you're holding?" the dealer whispered. At first, the man laughed. "It's just a penny." But he was wrong. This coin, this forgotten scrap of metal, would later be authenticated, certified, and eventually sold for a staggering price, up to $1.3 million at auction. A penny that was almost worthless, suddenly worth more than most people's houses. The answer lies in a mix of history, human error, and pure chance. The U.S. Mint produces billions of pennies every year. But in 1985, something unusual happened. Some coins slipped through the presses without their mint mark. Instead of showing the small letter under the date, the space was blank. To most people, it went unnoticed. But for collectors, this error was like finding a diamond in the rough. A coin without a mint mark wasn't just rare, it was historic, and here's the twist. Most no-mint mark coins from the 1980s are already highly collectible, but the 1985 version is even more mysterious. Very few have been confirmed, and every time one surfaces, the price climbs higher. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on them. Collectors are calling it a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Because when supply is this small, and demand is this high, prices don't just rise, they explode. This coin isn't just valuable because of the missing mint mark. It's valuable because so few survived in pristine condition. Most pennies get scratched, dented, and beaten up in circulation. But the ones that remain crisp, shiny, and nearly flawless are the ones that bring jaw-dropping numbers at auction. That's why one average penny can be worth a few bucks, while another, almost identical, can be worth over $1 million. Collectors were shocked when the latest example hit the auction block. The bidding started at just a few $1,000s. Within minutes, it shot up past $100,000. Then $250,000. The crowd gasped as two determined bidders pushed the price higher and higher. By the end, the hammer fell at over $1 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Experts believe there are still a handful of these 1985 no-mint mark pennies hiding in drawers, jars, and coffee cans across America. Every day, people spend them, not realizing what they're holding. That means the next discovery could be yours. Start with the basics. Pull out every 1985 penny you can find. Check the front of the coin, just under the year. Normally, you should see a tiny D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. If there's no letter at all, no mint mark, your heart should skip a beat. That's the first sign you might have struck gold. Then, look at the condition. A shiny, uncirculated penny with sharp details is worth far more than a scratched and worn one. Collectors pay premiums for coins that look like they just left the mint, even if they're decades old. But here's the warning most people miss. Not every missing mint mark is valuable. Sometimes, mint marks can fade due to wear, damage, or poor striking. The difference between a penny worth a cent and a penny worth $1 million comes down to expert authentication. That's why, if you think you've found one, you must send it to a trusted grading service. They'll confirm whether your coin is the real deal. And if it is, well, your life could change overnight. Think about it. Right now, in your kitchen drawer, in that jar of change you've been ignoring, could be a coin worth more than a luxury car, more than a dream vacation, more than your retirement fund, and it's not just about the money. It's about the thrill of discovery. The story you get to tell. Imagine sitting at the dinner table and saying, "Yeah, I paid off my house with a penny." That's the magic of coin collecting. Ordinary people, everyday change, extraordinary value. So the next time you pick up a penny, don't just toss it aside. Look at it. Study it. Because the coin that could change your life might already be in your pocket. This exact penny, the 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, could be sitting in your drawer right now. And it's worth up to $1.3 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single Lincoln penny, dated 1999 with no mint mark, stunned the collecting world and turned an ordinary pocket coin into a life-changing discovery. For most people, the 1999 penny looks like nothing special. It's the kind of coin you might brush past at the bottom of your car's cup holder or toss into a tip jar without even glancing at it. But hidden among the billions of coins struck that year, a rare few slipped through with an error so unusual, so mysterious, that their value has skyrocketed to legendary levels. Now, here's where the story gets interesting. The year was 1999, just before the new millennium. The US Mint was running at full speed, striking millions of pennies daily. Most bore the small mint marks, a D for Denver or P for Philadelphia, that we're all used to seeing. But then something happened. For reasons still debated among experts, certain pennies were released with no mint mark at all. A simple omission, almost invisible to the casual eye, transformed a coin worth 1 cent into a fortune worth $1 million. Collectors were shocked when the first discovery surfaced. Imagine this: a man emptied his pockets after work, and while rolling coins to take to the bank, he spotted something odd. His 1999 penny had no mint mark. He shrugged at first. After all, who stares at pennies for long? But after researching and showing it to a local dealer, he realized he had stumbled upon one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents ever minted. That single coin, once destined to buy a stick of gum, ended up selling for more than most people's homes. Word spread fast. Dealers started hunting. Collectors raced to check their jars of pennies. The prices climbed higher, auction after auction, as the legend of the 1999 no-mint mark penny grew. Some sold for hundreds of thousands. Others broke records, crossing into the realm of million-dollar miracles. It's not just the missing mint mark. It's the combination of rarity, mystery, and condition. The mint never publicly admitted how many slipped out this way, if it was a mistake, a forgotten die, or even an intentional release. That uncertainty makes the 1999 no-mint mark penny more than just a coin. It's a piece of numismatic legend. Think about it. A penny is the most ignored coin in American life. People drop them in parking lots, sweep them into couch cushions, even leave them behind at stores. And yet, the coin everyone overlooks could be the one hiding the power to change your life forever. Stories continue to surface of everyday people who stumbled across one. A retired teacher found hers in an old coffee can she'd been using to store spare change for years. A teenager spotted one in a handful of coins from a vending machine. Both discoveries turned into six-figure paydays. In the world of coins, lightning does strike twice, if you're paying attention. But here's the catch. Not every 1999 penny without a mint mark is authentic. Many people confuse worn coins, or coins struck with weak marks, for the genuine rarity. And that's where heartbreak can happen. Dealers warn that millions of collectors chase shadows, only to realize their find isn't the real thing. Which is why knowing the exact signs is crucial. First, look carefully under the date. There should be absolutely no trace of a mint mark, no faint D, no ghostly P, nothing at all. Second, condition matters more than you think. Coins that are crisp, shiny, and free from scratches are valued exponentially higher. A beat-up penny might fetch hundreds, but one in pristine mint state? That's where you get into the million-dollar territory. And finally, authentication is key. If you suspect you've found one, get it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. That little plastic holder confirming authenticity can be the difference between disbelief and destiny. But here's the part that gives collectors goosebumps. Experts estimate that only a handful of these coins are still in circulation, which means the next one could turn up anywhere. In a jar, in your change, even in your child's piggy bank. Right now, as you hear these words, the penny that could rewrite your financial future might be sitting silently in your home, waiting for you to notice it. Think about that. 1 cent. One overlooked coin. And yet it holds the power to bring you $1 million. That's not just money. That's a life changed, a dream fulfilled, a moment of history in your hands. So the next time you see a penny dated 1999, don't ignore it. Pick it up. Hold it close. Study it carefully. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It's worth up to $1.5 million. Imagine holding a penny so rare, so mysterious, that a single glance could change your entire life. Most people pass it off as spare change. But those who know its secret, they know it's a ticket to unimaginable fortune. The story begins in 1981, inside the Denver Mint. Millions of Lincoln cents were struck that year. To most collectors, they're common, ordinary, and unremarkable. But within that flood of copper coins, something went wrong. A minting mistake, so tiny, so hidden, that only a handful survived. That flaw is what turned a simple penny into a millionaire's dream. Collectors say that the 1981 D penny is one of the most shocking discoveries of modern coinage. At first glance, it looks just like any other coin in your pocket. Abraham Lincoln's portrait stares out, the D mint mark rests beneath the date, and the Lincoln Memorial stands proud on the reverse. Nothing unusual, right? But look closer. There's a subtle detail that changes everything. One coin slipped into circulation, then another. For years, nobody noticed. People spent them on gum, sodas, or bus rides, never realizing they were holding a coin worth more than their car, more than their house. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A collector sorting through rolls of pennies stumbled upon one. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks. Then, with magnification, he realized what he had found. That discovery went on to shake auction houses, with a hammer price climbing toward $1.5 million. Dealers were shocked. Collectors scrambled to double-check their collections. Suddenly, the 1981 penny wasn't just another coin. It was the most talked-about cent of the decade. Why? Because of the error. A rare combination of strike, metal content, and condition. In some cases, these coins were struck with transitional planchets, the wrong type of blank, prepared for a different year. Others bore doubling so precise, so dramatic, that experts couldn't believe they left the mint unnoticed. And here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Many of these rare pennies are still out there. Hidden in jars, tucked away in drawers, waiting in dusty piggy banks. Every day, thousands of people unknowingly spend change that could be worth a fortune. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Yours could too, but here's the part most people miss. The D mint mark on these coins can look slightly misplaced or faint. The lettering might appear doubled, especially on the word Liberty or the date itself. Some coins even reveal subtle copper anomalies, since 1981 was a transition period before the US shifted penny compositions in 1982. That tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people overlook it. Collectors who've seen one in person describe the experience as electric. Imagine a penny glowing in your hand, knowing it holds more power than stacks of $100 bills. The weight feels the same, the color is the same, but its value? Absolutely life-changing. Dealers rush to get their hands on these coins, and bidding wars break out like storms whenever one hits the auction block. Now think about this. How many pennies have you ignored in your lifetime? How many times have you brushed them aside, dropped them in a cup holder, or left them rattling in the bottom of your purse? What if one of those was the 1981 worth $1.5 million? That thought alone keeps collectors awake at night. But before you run to the bank to cash in every roll, here's how to know if you've found the real deal. First, look for the D mint mark beneath the date. Study it carefully. If it appears slightly off, doubled, or unusually shaped, you may be onto something. Second, examine the coin's overall detail. Sharp, crisp strikes with unusual doubling are signs of rarity. Finally, consider the condition. Uncirculated examples are the ones pulling staggering prices at auction. A clean, well-preserved 1981 penny with these features could be worth far more than its weight in copper. So the next time you pick up a penny, don't dismiss it. That tiny coin could hold the key to $1 million secret. Somewhere out there, another 1981 mint mark penny is waiting to be discovered. And the person who finds it? They won't just be lucky. They'll be holding history, value, and a once-in-a-lifetime treasure in the palm of their hand. Check your change. Search your jars. Look twice before you spend that penny. Because this exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But when it was discovered, it stunned collectors worldwide. A simple 1979 penny, stamped with a tiny D from the Denver Mint, became the center of a story worth up to $1.6 million. Most people glance at a penny and move on. But this coin? This coin hides a secret that almost nobody notices. One small minting error. One overlooked detail. And that's what makes it worth more than most houses. Imagine that. A penny in your pocket, suddenly turning into a life-changing fortune. The year was 1979. America was in the middle of economic struggle, gas prices were rising, and families were counting every dollar. But in the middle of it all, the U.S. Mint was pressing out billions of pennies. Some were ordinary, but among them, a few rare mistakes slipped through the cracks. Mistakes so subtle, they looked like ordinary coins at first glance. But under the right light, in the right hands, they revealed themselves to be extraordinary. Collectors call them hidden treasures. Because that's exactly what they are. And one of the most famous is the 1979 D. Lincoln penny. Dealers describe it as a miracle find. Imagine sifting through your change, and there it is, a dull copper coin, no different from the rest. Until you look closer. That's when you see it, the off-strike, the doubling, the imperfections that mark it as one of a kind. And those imperfections are exactly what make it priceless. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these pennies, long ignored, was brought to auction. Experts were cautious at first. Some even doubted it could fetch more than a few $100s. But then the bidding began. Voices clashed, prices climbed, and disbelief spread through the room. By the time the hammer dropped, this single penny had shattered expectations, valued at up to $1.6 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to get their hands on similar coins. Suddenly, the 1979 D penny wasn't just pocket change anymore. It was a symbol of hope, a reminder that treasures can hide in the most ordinary places. One man's pocket change had become a $1 million miracle. The answer lies in the tiniest details. The Denver Mint in 1979 struck billions of coins, but a few slipped through with doubled dies and striking flaws. The D Mint mark may look slightly misplaced. The date might appear doubled. Lincoln's face could have faint distortions, and the rim may seem thicker on one side. To the untrained eye, it's just wear and tear. But to collectors, those flaws are golden. Here's the twist most people miss. Not every 1979 D penny is valuable. In fact, almost all are worth only a cent. The fortune lies only in the flawed ones. That's what makes the hunt so thrilling, and so dangerous. Many collectors pass over these pennies without realizing what they're holding. And that tiny mistake can cost them $1 million. But there's something even more fascinating. Stories keep surfacing of everyday people stumbling across these coins in the most ordinary places. A cashier in Texas, a student in California, a retired veteran in Ohio. Each of them pulled a 1979 D penny from their pocket, only to discover later that it was unlike the rest. Each story spreads like wildfire, fueling the legend of this coin even more. And here's where you come in. If you have old jars of coins, if your dresser drawer is full of loose change, or if you've been holding on to a roll of pennies from decades ago, you might already have one of these hidden treasures. The secret is knowing what to look for. Examine your 1979 pennies closely. Flip them under a magnifying glass. Look at the date. Do you see a doubling of the numbers? Check the mint mark, D. Is it slightly misplaced or unusually struck? Study Lincoln's profile for distortions. And don't forget the edges. Sometimes the clue lies in the rim itself. But what happened to the most recent discovery will blow your mind. A collector submitted his 1979 D penny to grading services. When it came back authenticated as a rare variety, its value skyrocketed overnight. What he once thought was pocket change instantly became a coin worth more than $1 million. Think about that for a second. How many times have you held a penny, shrugged, and tossed it into a jar? What if, without knowing it, you were holding your ticket to $1.6 million? So the next time you hear the clink of change in your pocket, pause for a moment. Don't just ignore it. Because history has shown us time and time again that fortune favors the curious. The 1979 D Lincoln penny isn't just a coin, it's a story, a mystery, and possibly your once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And here's the final truth. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It's worth nearly $2 million. A simple penny from 1981. No mint mark. No sparkle of gold. Just an ordinary copper coin that most people would walk right past on the sidewalk. And yet, this little disc of metal carries one of the most shocking stories in modern coin collecting. 1981. Ronald Reagan was just stepping into the White House. Gas was a little over $1. And pocket change was the last thing on anyone's mind. But deep inside the minting presses of the United States, something unusual happened. A batch of pennies was struck, and a mistake was made. A small, invisible oversight that no one noticed at first. But decades later, that same mistake would send coin dealers into a frenzy, auction houses into chaos, and one lucky collector into the history books. Now here's the part that blows everyone's mind. The coin doesn't even look that special at first glance. It's a Lincoln Memorial penny. Same design, same copper shine. But if you look closely, there's no mint mark. Not even the tiniest letter beneath the date. That absence is the golden key. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. You see, in 1981, most pennies carried either a small D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. No mint mark meant Philadelphia. But even then, these coins weren't supposed to slip out in such limited and rare conditions. Some were struck with unusual die errors, others survived in pristine condition against all odds. And because so few examples remain today in such near-perfect states, their value skyrocketed beyond anyone's wildest imagination. One story still gives collectors goosebumps. A man cleaning out his father's old coin jar stumbled on a 1981 penny. At first, he thought nothing of it, just another relic from decades past. But when a local dealer spotted the missing mint mark and the flawless detail, the truth hit him like lightning. That coin eventually made its way to auction. Bidders went wild. The final price? Over $1.5 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And here's the twist most people don't see coming. Many 1981 pennies are still out there. Hiding. Buried in coffee cans, tucked away in drawers, sealed in dusty coin albums. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins because the demand is overwhelming. Every time one surfaces in top condition, it doesn't just sell, it sets the market on fire. But here's the detail you absolutely cannot miss. The key to this penny's fortune lies in two things: the missing mint mark and its condition. Collectors call it mint state, meaning the coin looks like it just left the press yesterday. No scratches, no wear, no dullness. The cleaner the coin, the higher the value. That's why some 1981 no mint mark pennies in regular circulation are worth only a few dollars. But in flawless condition, the exact same penny can be worth over $1.7 million. Think about that. The difference between pocket change and a life-changing treasure comes down to whether someone tossed the coin in a jar or protected it in a case. That tiny decision is the reason millionaires are being made from what looks like the most ordinary coin in America. And yet there's more. Some experts believe hidden varieties still haven't been discovered. A double-struck die here, a faint error there. These small minting quirks can multiply the value instantly. Collectors know this, and that's why they're searching every single 1981 penny they can get their hands on. The race is on, and the next discovery could break the current record. Here's the checklist. First, check the year, 1981. Second, look just below the date. If there's no mint mark, no D, no S, just a clean number, then you might be holding a hidden fortune. Finally, check the condition. If it looks untouched, glowing, and sharp under a magnifying glass, then you've got something that could send collectors into a bidding war. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or dig through that old change jar, remember this: the most ordinary-looking penny in the world could secretly be worth over $1 million. This exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth up to $1.7 million. It's worth nearly $1.8 million. And the shocking part? You could have one sitting in your change jar right now without even realizing it. The year was 1973. Gas was cheap, Nixon was in the White House, and the Lincoln penny was so common that nobody looked at it twice. Billions were made. But hidden among those billions, a few slipped out of the mint that would go on to shake the entire coin collecting world. A tiny mistake. A missing mark. An overlooked detail that turned an ordinary penny into a life-changing fortune. Collectors didn't even realize what was happening at first. For years, these coins passed from hand to hand, buying candy, paying for parking meters, vanishing into piggy banks. But then, one surfaced. It looked just like any other 1973 penny. Until a sharp-eyed collector noticed something strange. Where the mint mark should have been, nothing. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just a smooth, blank space under the date. The discovery stunned the coin community. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. Collectors whispered about it like it was buried treasure. Could a simple penny from the grocery store really be worth nearly $2 million? The answer was yes. Because this wasn't just a coin. It was a rare accident of history, an error that slipped through the mint's strict quality control and survived 50 years in circulation. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At auction, one of these 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies crossed the block. The room fell silent. Hands shot up. The price climbed higher and higher. And when the hammer finally dropped, this penny, this tiny copper coin most people would ignore, was valued at $1.8 million. One man's pocket change had become a miracle, and here's the part that gives collectors goosebumps. Most people miss it. They see the date, they flip the coin, and they move on. But the absence of a mint mark is everything. It's what separates a penny worth 1 cent from a penny worth a mansion. Dealers were shocked. Collectors couldn't believe it. Imagine sitting at your kitchen table, dumping out a jar of pennies, and realizing that one coin, just one, was enough to pay off your mortgage, buy a new car, and still leave you with money to spare. That's the dream. That's the thrill of coin collecting. The answer lies in the mint itself. In 1973, coins were struck at multiple locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But nearly every coin carried a tiny mint mark to show where it was born. Somehow, a small run slipped out of the presses without this identifying mark. Was it human error? Was it an intentional experiment? No one knows for sure. What we do know is that only a handful exist. And here's the cliffhanger most people don't expect: there could still be more hiding out there. In coffee cans, in old dressers, in collections that have never been searched carefully. That's why collectors are still hunting for them, 50 years later. Because lightning could strike twice. Think about it. Every coin you touch could carry a secret. Every penny you toss aside could be worth $1 million. That's why serious collectors never ignore the details. Start simple. Look at the date, 1973. Then check directly under it. If you see a small D or S, it's a normal penny. But if there's nothing, no mint mark at all, your heart should start racing. That's the sign. That's the clue. That's the treasure hiding in plain sight. But be careful. Many people confuse worn-down coins or faint mint marks with the real deal. A true no-mint mark error is crisp, clean, and unmistakable. If you think you've found one, don't clean it, don't scratch it, and definitely don't spend it. Get it certified by a professional grading service immediately. That little coin could change your life. Collectors still talk about the day someone pulled one out of circulation and sold it for over $1 million. They call it the miracle penny. The coin that should have been forgotten, but instead became a legend. And maybe, just maybe, the next one is waiting in your pocket right now. So before you toss that change back into the jar, take a second look. Because history has proven it again and again, the smallest details can hide the biggest fortunes. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a parking lot gutter, worthless, abandoned, just another penny lost to time. But when it finally surfaced, collectors could hardly believe what they were seeing. A simple 1993 Lincoln penny, with a tiny D mint mark, ended up shocking the coin world with a jaw-dropping value of over $1 million. How could such an ordinary coin, one you and I might have tossed into a gas station counter jar, be worth a fortune? The answer lies deep inside the mysterious world of minting mistakes, collector demand, and the kind of once-in-a-lifetime rarity that can turn pocket change into a treasure chest. In 1993, the U.S. Mint in Denver produced over 6 billion Lincoln pennies. To most people, that's just a mountain of copper-plated zinc coins. Nothing special. Nothing rare. But here's the twist: somewhere in that sea of billions, a few coins slipped through the cracks with details so strange, so unexpected, that they transformed from spare change into million-dollar marvels. Collectors say this particular 1993 D penny carries a hidden secret that only the sharpest eyes can spot. A subtle error, a slight shift, or a microscopic detail that separates it from every other penny minted that year. And when that detail is spotted, the value skyrockets. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these coins, once rattling in someone's pocket, ended up at auction. The bidding war was fierce. Dealers were scrambling, collectors were holding their breath, and the price just kept climbing. By the time the hammer dropped, this little penny had crossed into legend, worth over $1 million. Can you imagine the shock of the person who first discovered it? Think about it, walking into a store with nothing but a handful of coins, not realizing that one of them could buy you a mansion, pay off your debts, or set you up for life. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Why did this tiny 1993 D mint mark penny end up becoming one of the rarest and most valuable coins in modern American history? The answer goes back to the mint itself. In 1993, changes in production quality, subtle die variations, and even shifts in planchet composition all combined to create a perfect storm. Most coins came out perfect, but a few carried rare traits that collectors now treat like buried treasure. And here's where you need to pay close attention. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The 1993 D penny that has shocked collectors often shows doubling in the date or lettering, unusual strike errors, or a minting flaw so subtle you'd miss it without a magnifying glass. The D mint mark placement, the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, and even the rim of the coin all play a role in identifying these hidden gems. Collectors were shocked to realize just how many of these could still be out there. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on them, and everyday people are digging through their jars, their old wallets, even dusty shoeboxes in the attic. Because somewhere, one of these rare pennies is still hiding, and if you think it's impossible, remember this. Every single one of these $1 million coins started out the same way, a simple penny dropped into circulation. Some went through vending machines, some clinked across countertops, some sat forgotten for decades. And yet, one by one, they've resurfaced, shocking the world with their true value. But what makes this story so powerful is the possibility. The chance that right now, inside your home, you might have the very same coins sitting in plain sight. Maybe in a change jar. Maybe in a piggy bank. Maybe in a drawer you haven't opened in years. So here's what you need to look for. First, the mint mark. It must have the small d beneath the year 1993. Next, examine the coin closely for errors. Look for doubling in the numbers, distortions in the letters, or unusual marks around the rim. Pay close attention to Lincoln's profile. Sometimes the tiniest strike difference can mean the difference between a penny and a payday. And of course, condition matters. A well-preserved coin with sharp details is far more likely to cross into that $1 million territory. One collector almost missed his chance. He had the coin sitting in a small tin box for years, assuming it was just another penny. But when he finally took it to a dealer, the reaction was instant. This was no ordinary coin. Weeks later, it stunned the auction floor and changed his life forever. And that's why I have to tell you this: don't ignore your pocket change. Don't dismiss that old jar of coins collecting dust. Because hidden inside could be the very thing that rewrites your story. Imagine holding a coin so rare, so valuable, that it flips your world upside down. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple copper-colored penny, the same one you probably have rattling around in your pocket or hidden in an old coffee can, is worth up to $1.2 million. And it carries a secret so shocking, even seasoned coin collectors couldn't believe it at first. The year was 1982. Ronald Reagan was president, Michael Jackson had just released Thriller, and the US Mint was quietly making one of the most dramatic changes in penny history. Copper had become too expensive, so the Mint switched the penny's composition from 95% copper to a cheaper mix, mostly zinc, coated with just a thin layer of copper. Most people didn't even notice the difference. But this change set the stage for one of the most valuable mistakes in American coinage. Now, here's where the story gets unbelievable. In Denver, where the D Mint mark identifies coins struck at the Denver Mint, A batch of pennies was accidentally produced using the old heavy copper planchets. While most 1982 pennies weighed just 2.5 grams, these rare copper ones weighed 3.1 grams, and that tiny difference made them worth a fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One lucky collector, sifting through ordinary pocket change, spotted a 1982 D penny that felt just a little heavier. Something about it wasn't right. When he weighed it, the scale confirmed his suspicion. It was copper, a survivor of the old formula. That single penny would later make headlines, selling for an eye-watering $1.20 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled to confirm the find. And suddenly, every coin hunter in America was checking their 1982 D pennies with a magnifying glass and a scale. Because this wasn't just some obscure, one-off error, it was $1 million miracle hiding in plain sight. But here's the detail most people miss. In 1982, the Mint didn't just change the metal. They also made 7 different variations of the Lincoln penny: large date, small date, copper, zinc, with mint marks, without mint marks. It was chaos for collectors, and in that chaos, a legendary rarity was born. You're emptying your pockets at the end of the day. You toss a handful of change onto your nightstand. Among the nickels and dimes, there's a penny you don't even glance at. You don't realize that it's heavier than the others. You don't notice the tiny D stamped below the ear. And you certainly don't realize that what you just ignored could change your entire life. This is where the story gets even more dramatic. After the discovery, news spread fast. The coin world buzzed with disbelief. Was it real? Could such a mistake actually happen? Experts examined the coin under microscopes, confirmed the metal content, and verified the minting error. When the hammer finally dropped at auction, jaws dropped with it. A single penny, a coin designed to be worth just 1 cent, had crossed the $1 million mark. More of these coins could still be out there. That's right. It wasn't a single accidental strike. A small handful of copper 1982 D pennies are believed to exist, and they've become the holy grail of modern coin collectors. Some may still be tucked away in old jars, sitting in basements, waiting for someone to realize their true worth. But what makes this even more exciting is how easy it is to miss. The 1982 D penny looks almost identical to the ordinary zinc version. Same year, same design, same mint mark. The only difference is weight. The rare copper ones weigh 3.1 grams, while the common zinc ones weigh 2.5 grams. That's it. That tiny difference could mean the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Think about that for a moment. One man's small attention to detail changed his entire future. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were racing to get their hands on even a chance to see this coin. And ordinary people, just like you, suddenly had a new dream, the dream that the penny sitting in their drawer could be worth a fortune. But here's the part that makes it almost poetic. The penny has always been overlooked. People drop them on the ground and don't bother picking them up. Stores toss them into trays by the register. They're considered worthless, even disposable. And yet, hidden among them, is a coin that could pay off your mortgage, send your kids to college, or change your retirement forever. Here's what to look for. First, the date, 1982. Second, the mint mark, a small letter, D, just below the year, which stands for Denver. Third, the weight. Place the coin on a simple digital scale. If it weighs 3.1 grams, you may be holding the treasure of a lifetime. But beware, most weigh 2.5 grams, and only the heavy copper ones are worth millions. And don't be fooled by lookalikes. Many sellers try to pass off ordinary zinc pennies as rare ones, or even alter the weight. Only a certified grading service can confirm the real deal, but that first test with a scale could make all the difference. Now here's the final thought I'll leave you with. Somewhere, right now, sitting in a dusty jar of coins, or buried in an old piggy bank, there could be another 1982 D copper penny waiting to be discovered. It could be in your house. It could be in your pocket. And if you find it, it's not just worth a few dollars. It's worth over $1 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth up to $1.2 million. Yes, a single, ordinary-looking penny from 1970. And here's the kicker: most people have no idea they've even seen one. The story begins in an unremarkable year. Richard Nixon was president, the Beatles had broken up, and inflation was beginning to creep across America. The Lincoln penny was everywhere: pocket change, vending machines, tucked into candy jars. Nobody paid it a second glance. But somewhere, deep inside the U.S. Mint, a mistake was quietly created. A mistake so rare, so unbelievable, that decades later it would transform a 1-cent coin into a $1 million miracle. You see, the 1970 no-mint mark penny wasn't supposed to exist in its rare form. Philadelphia struck coins without a mint mark as usual, but a handful of them carried microscopic quirks, double details, or striking anomalies that slipped through unnoticed. These tiny errors turned pocket change into hidden treasure. Collectors were shocked when one of these coins appeared at auction. The bidding war was ferocious, and the final hammer price soared into the hundreds of thousands. And today, the highest examples have been valued at over $1.3 million. Imagine holding a coin that most people wouldn't bend down to pick up off the sidewalk, and realizing it could pay off your house. But here's the detail most people miss. It isn't just any 1970 penny without a mint mark. Look closely: the doubling on the date, the crispness of Lincoln's profile, and the condition of the coin all matter. Collectors know that even the smallest flaw can slash the value. That's why experts guard these coins like holy relics. Because one wrong fingerprint, one careless scratch, can cost you hundreds of thousands. One man discovered his by accident. He was sorting through an old coffee tin his father had left behind. Most of the pennies were worn, scratched, and dull. But one, just one, seemed different. The date looked thicker, almost ghostly. He thought it was a trick of the light. He almost tossed it back in. But curiosity made him take it to a dealer. That ordinary penny sold for more than he had ever earned in a year of work. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. But the story doesn't end there. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Private collectors whisper about them like buried treasure. Auction houses light up whenever one appears. And yet, right now, countless Americans have no idea that one could be sitting in their dresser drawer, their coin jar, or even rattling around in the cup holder of their car. And here's the suspenseful truth: most people will miss it. They'll spend it. They'll toss it aside. They'll let $1 million slip right through their fingers. Here's what you need to know. If you find a 1970 penny with no mint mark, stop. Do not polish it, do not scratch it, do not clean it. Look carefully at the date, especially the number 7 and the 0. On rare double-die varieties, you'll notice a shadow, a ghostly second image, that collectors will pay life-changing money for. The sharper the doubling, the higher the value. And remember, condition is king. A pristine coin can cross the $1 million threshold, while a damaged one may only bring a fraction of that. Collectors have learned the hard way: selling too soon, cleaning too aggressively, or simply not knowing what they had until it was too late. Don't let that be you. Because right now, as you listen to this, that very penny could be sitting in your house, waiting to be found. And if it is, you're holding a piece of history. A tiny copper coin that could change your life. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash. Just another penny, sitting at the bottom of a change jar. But what no one realized is that this single coin would later shock the coin collecting world, when it sold for nearly $1.5 million. The year was 2005. George W. Bush was president. Gas was barely $2 a gallon, and the Lincoln penny was something you barely noticed before sliding it into your pocket. But deep inside the machinery of the U.S. Mint, something unusual happened. A mistake so small, yet so powerful, it would change the destiny of one ordinary coin forever. At first glance, it looked like every other Lincoln penny you've ever seen. The familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But there was one detail missing, a tiny detail so easy to overlook that millions of people spent these coins every day without a second thought. This penny carried no mint mark. Now, most people would never think twice about that. After all, Philadelphia minted coins often leave off the mint mark. But the 2005 no mint mark penny wasn't just a Philadelphia issue. This particular strike carried hidden traits, small anomalies in the metal itself, die errors, weak strikes, even double impressions, that made it a once-in-a-lifetime find. Collectors call them ghost coins. Dealers call them miracle cents. One collector, sorting through loose change at his desk, spotted a penny that looked just a little different. At first, he brushed it off. But something caught his eye. The color seemed richer, the strike sharper. And then he noticed it, the missing mint mark, paired with subtle doubling around the date. He took it to a dealer, and within hours, experts confirmed it was one of the rarest known 2005 errors. What most people would have tossed back into circulation was suddenly worth more than a house. At auction, under the bright lights, with the room packed full of bidders, the price climbed higher and higher. $1 million. Then 1.2. Finally, the hammer dropped at nearly $1.4 million. For a penny, dealers were shocked. Collectors rushed to their safes, digging through rolls of 2005 cents they had once ignored. Stories began to spread of pocket change discoveries turning into small fortunes. One man's penny jar became a retirement plan. Another family paid off their mortgage with a coin they almost used at a gas station. But here's the part most people miss: the exact details that separate a $1 million 2005 penny from the billions of ordinary cents. This is where your attention must sharpen. On the obverse, look closely at Lincoln's profile. Certain rare examples show doubling on the word Liberty and around the numbers and the date. The 0 and 5 in 2005 sometimes carry a shadowy second outline. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial can reveal faint die clashes, extra lines that don't belong, and slight misalignments that give away the minting error. Most importantly, the absence of any mint mark below the date tells you you're looking at a Philadelphia strike, and among them, a select few carry the extraordinary error that changed everything. But the story doesn't end there. For years, people have been sitting on these coins without realizing it. Some collectors claim that entire rolls of 2005 no mint mark pennies may still be out there, untouched, hidden in drawers, jars, and dusty shoeboxes across America. And every single one could carry the same $1 million secret. Imagine this. You're buying coffee, you hand over change, and the cashier unknowingly takes a coin that could have paid off their home. Or worse, you're the one who lets it slip through your fingers. That's the reality with this penny. That's how close most people are to a life-changing discovery, without even knowing it. Collectors say that when these coins surface, the energy in the room changes. Bidders lean forward, hearts race, voices rise. Because everyone knows they're staring at history, and at a fortune wrapped in copper. One tiny coin, the kind you've ignored 1,000 times, becomes the center of the universe for a few unforgettable minutes. So here's the truth. If you have a 2005 penny with no mint mark, don't dismiss it. Don't toss it back into circulation. Look closer. Search for doubling, clashes, and that crisp strike that separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Because the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $1 million miracle could be sitting right in your hand. And now comes the most haunting question of all. How many of these coins are still out there, waiting to be found? No one knows. But what we do know is this: the last time one surfaced, it changed someone's life forever. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It's worth up to $1.5 million. And the strangest part? You could have one sitting in your pocket right now. The year was 1990. The Berlin Wall had just fallen, the world was shifting into a new era, and in the United States, a simple penny was rolling off the presses at the U.S. Mint. Billions of them were made. Ordinary Lincoln Memorial cents, the kind you'd barely glance at before dropping into a soda machine. But hidden among the countless copper-plated zinc coins, a few carried a secret so powerful that decades later, collectors would pay millions to claim them. No one knew it at the time. Not the cashier who handed it over. Not the kid who shoved it in a piggy bank. Not the family who accidentally dropped one between couch cushions. But buried inside everyday change, the 1990 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny was quietly waiting to shock the coin world. Now here's where the story takes a turn. Normally, in 1990, if your penny was struck in Philadelphia, it didn't carry a mint mark. But by that year, the Philadelphia Mint had already begun adding the tiny P on most of its coinage. The Lincoln cent, however, remained the exception. That tiny omission, no mint mark, combined with a rare error in the striking process, created an extraordinary situation. Suddenly, a coin that should have been worth 1 cent was commanding auction prices in the hundreds of thousands. And in one legendary case, over $1.5 million, collectors were stunned. Dealers were scrambling, racing to secure even the faintest whispers of this penny. Newspapers ran stories about coins found in pocket change, and ordinary Americans started tearing through jars, drawers, and coffee cans, desperate to see if they too held a $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a major auction house, a flawless specimen of the 1990 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny came up for bidding. No scratches, nowhere, shimmering like it had just left the mint presses yesterday. The bidding war was fierce. Dealers, private collectors, even investors who had never cared about coins before were all locked in battle. And when the final hammer fell, the price had soared to numbers no one believed possible. A penny, just a penny, commanding a value higher than most homes. The answer lies in the smallest details. The absence of a mint mark. The sharpness of Lincoln's profile. The flawless strike with not even the faintest blemish. To the untrained eye, it looks like any other 1990 penny. But to a seasoned collector, it's a shining beacon of rarity and fortune. And here's the real kicker: millions of these pennies were made. That means yours could already be out there, hiding in plain sight. Maybe it's in the bottom of your old wallet. Maybe it's buried in a jar your grandparents kept in the attic. Maybe you even spent one years ago without realizing it. The thought alone has collectors losing sleep at night. But the story doesn't end there. Every year, more examples surface. A retired man in Ohio discovered one in his change from a gas station. Another surfaced in California, tucked inside a shoebox of coins left behind by a grandfather who had passed away. Each time one is found, the coin world erupts with excitement, and the value climbs even higher. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The lack of a mint mark. That's it. A simple absence that transformed a common coin into a life-changing fortune. But here's the warning: not every 1990 penny without a mint mark is the $1 million version. Condition is everything. Scratches, wear, or even a fingerprint can cut the value down by thousands, sometimes tens of thousands. That's why professional grading is crucial. Collectors send their coins to grading services like PCGS or NGC, where experts examine every detail under microscopes, assigning a grade that can make or break its market value. Now imagine this. You dig through your drawer tonight, and you pull out a handful of pennies. You spot a 1990 with no mint mark. You hold it to the light, your heart pounding, wondering if you've just stumbled onto a $1 million miracle. That's the thrill, the mystery, the reason collectors chase these coins with such passion. Because in that moment, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Think about it: one man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Another family's forgotten coin jar became their ticket to financial freedom. And every single day, more people are searching, hoping, dreaming of being the next lucky discoverer. First, look for the date, 1990. Then check the front of the coin, right under the year. If there's no tiny letter, no mint mark, you may already be holding something rare. Next, study its condition. Sharp edges, crisp detail, and little to no wear could mean you've got a gem. And if you do, don't rush to spend it. Have it authenticated, because you might just be holding a fortune in the palm of your hand. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Think about it. A coin that millions of people tossed into jars, dropped between couch cushions, or used to buy gum at the corner store. One of them hides a mistake so rare, it's valued at up to $1.6 million. The story begins in 1991, a year of change in technology. The Gulf War had just ended, Michael Jordan was dominating basketball, and the U.S. Mint was quietly producing billions of Lincoln Memorial pennies. At a glance, they looked ordinary. But in the chaos of production, a tiny oversight occurred. The mint mark, the tiny letter that reveals where a coin was struck, was missing. And this one detail, invisible to most, turned an everyday coin into a life-changing discovery. Now here's the twist. For decades, collectors thought the 1991 no-mint mark penny didn't exist in circulation. It was a phantom, a rumor, the kind of story that only whispered through coin clubs and back-alley dealer shows. But then one surfaced, and when it did, it sent shockwaves across the country. Imagine holding a penny in your hand that looks just like every other coin you've ever seen, except it doesn't carry a mint mark. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just a blank space under the date. Most people never notice it. But that missing mark is the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth over $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on one. And when it hit the auction block, the price climbed higher and higher until jaws dropped. A single 1991 no-mint mark penny reached an estimated value of $1.6 million. That's right. The smallest coin in your pocket could be worth more than a luxury mansion. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As soon as that sale made headlines, treasure hunters everywhere started digging through their change. People who had never cared about pennies before were suddenly studying every coin under a magnifying glass, looking for that elusive missing mint mark. And here's where the mystery deepens. Not all 1991 pennies without a mint mark are valuable. Most were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which typically left off mint marks at the time. The $1 million version comes from an extraordinary error, a rare die variety that slipped through unnoticed. To the untrained eye, it looks just like the rest. But experts know the truth. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. He thought he had a regular penny until a coin dealer spotted the mistake. That one coin, forgotten in circulation for years, became his ticket to life-changing wealth. But here's the question that keeps collectors awake at night. How many more are still out there? Could one be sitting in your desk drawer? Could it be hiding in a jar of pennies you haven't touched in years? Most people miss the crucial detail. They don't know what to look for. And that's why these coins remain hidden. But you're about to know the secret. To identify the 1991 no-mint mark penny worth real money, here's what you need to watch closely. First, check the date, 1991. Then look beneath the date where the mint mark should be. If there's no letter at all, you could be holding a Philadelphia strike. But don't stop there. Condition matters. Flawless surfaces, sharp details, and full red color can send the price skyrocketing. Errors in striking, die varieties, and unusual doubling can push the value into the millions. The biggest mistake collectors make is assuming every no-mint mark 1991 penny is valuable. That's not the case. Most are common. But a small handful carry the traits of the rare variety, and those are the ones auction houses fight over. So here's your challenge. Dig through your change. Open that jar. Check every 1991 penny you find. Look at the date. Look at the mint mark. Because if you find the right one, you may just be holding a $1 million treasure in your hand. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But when it finally surfaced, it stunned the entire coin collecting world. A simple, ordinary-looking 1969 Lincoln penny, the kind you've probably ignored 1,000 times, turned out to be worth nearly $1.8 million. Think about that for a second. A coin you could mistake for pocket change. A coin that could slip between your couch cushions. A coin you might hand to a cashier without even noticing. That very coin changed someone's life forever. The story begins in 1969, a year filled with history. Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon. Woodstock shook the world with music and freedom. And in the U.S. Mint, hidden in the machinery, a tiny mistake was born. Most people never knew it. Most people never noticed it. But a few lucky collectors discovered what might be one of the most dramatic minting errors in history. Now, here's where it gets unbelievable. The 1969 penny with no mint mark looks deceptively ordinary. If you glanced at it, you'd think it was just another copper coin, the kind you've seen thousands of times. But hidden in its design, in its very DNA, is the reason it became one of the most expensive pennies ever recorded. Collectors were shocked when the first of these surfaced. At first, even experts thought it couldn't be real. Some whispered it was fake. Others claimed it was just a rumor. But when one of these coins finally made its way into the hands of professional graders, the truth sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. And here's the part that makes this story so unforgettable. The 1969 no mint mark penny doesn't just have rarity. It has mystery. Why were only a handful ever struck this way? How could such a dramatic error slip past the mint's watchful eyes? Dealers began rushing to confirm, while collectors scrambled to check their jars of change. The excitement was electric, because for the first time, a coin most people thought worthless turned out to be worth a fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a major auction, one of these pennies crossed the block. The bidding war was fierce. Collectors with deep pockets fought tooth and nail, each knowing this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance. And when the hammer finally dropped, the price tag was jaw-dropping. Nearly $1.8 million for a single penny. Think about the drama of that moment. A coin smaller than a bottle cap, lighter than a paperclip, selling for more money than most people's houses. That is the power of hidden treasure. Now, here's the part that should really make you sit up. Because if one of these coins slipped through the mint in 1969, who's to say there aren't more still out there? In a box of old coins. In your childhood piggy bank. In the change rattling at the bottom of your car. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and there's no reason it couldn't happen again. This is the key, and it's where most people make mistakes. First, check the date, 1969. If there's no mint mark beneath the year, you might have something. But here's where it gets tricky. Most 1969 pennies with no mint mark are just ordinary Philadelphia issues, worth face value. The $1 million rarity hides in the details. The rarest 1969 no mint mark pennies show doubled lettering, what experts call a doubled die. Look closely at the word liberty, at the phrase "I in God we trust," and at the date itself. If you see strong, doubled images, sharp and unmistakable, then you may be holding a life-changing coin. This is what separates a penny worth 1 cent from a penny worth $1.8 million. Collectors who found these coins were in disbelief. Imagine picking up a coin, turning it in the light, and realizing the letters seemed to jump out, doubled and clear. That small detail transformed their lives forever. How many coins have passed through your hands unnoticed? It's enough to make you rethink every cent you've ever touched. Because right now, somewhere out there, another 1969 no mint mark penny could be waiting. Waiting in an attic. Waiting in a drawer. Waiting in your pocket change this very moment. And the next time it's discovered, the world will once again watch in awe as a single coin commands the price of a mansion. So before you spend another penny, check it carefully. Look at the date. Look for that missing mint mark. Look for those doubled letters. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when it was finally discovered, it stunned the coin collecting world. A plain-looking 1987 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, turned out to be worth over $1 million. And here's the shocking part. It was hiding in plain sight all along. Imagine digging through pocket change, thinking you're just handling another ordinary penny from the 1980s, and suddenly realizing you're holding a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. That's exactly what happened when collectors uncovered one of the rarest error coins from modern U.S. history. Now, let's rewind. The year was 1987. Ronald Reagan was president, the stock market was still reeling from Black Monday, and people were just tossing pennies into coffee cans without giving them a second glance. But behind the doors of the U.S. Mint, something unusual slipped through the cracks. A minting error, tiny, nearly invisible to the average eye, gave birth to one of the most valuable modern pennies ever struck. Collectors would later call it a miracle coin. Dealers whispered about it at coin shows. But when the first example surfaced at auction, jaws dropped. That worthless penny climbed past thousands, then tens of thousands, until the hammer came down near the $1 million mark. Why did one 1987 no-mint mark penny leap into the elite circle of $1 million coins? The answer lies in a rare combination of mistakes and survival. Most pennies from this year were struck with a mint mark, a small letter beneath the date, showing where it was made. But a few slipped through the presses completely blank: no D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, no P for Philadelphia. Just Lincoln, the date, and empty space. That might not sound like much, but to coin collectors, this is the holy grail. A missing mint mark transforms an ordinary penny into a mystery, a puzzle, a golden ticket. Think about it, billions of pennies are struck each year. But only a handful with this exact error exist. And here's where the story gets even crazier. For years, these error pennies circulated undetected. They passed through vending machines, parking meters, lunch counters, forgotten at the bottom of drawers. No one paid attention, until one lucky collector spotted the missing mint mark and realized what he had just pulled from circulation. The news spread like wildfire. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to confirm it. And when the coin hit the open market, the price shot up to heights no one could have predicted. One man's pocket change had just become $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. More of these 1987 no-mint mark pennies began appearing, tucked away in collections, discovered in dusty jars, even handed down in family piggy banks. Each time one surfaced, the frenzy reignited. Auctions became battlegrounds. Every collector wanted one. And each new discovery fueled the legend of the 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. It's easy to glance at the date, see Lincoln's face, and assume it's just another penny. But if you look closer, right beneath the year 1987, there should be a mint mark. And if there isn't, you may be staring at a coin that could change your life. Here's the key: not every no-mint mark 1987 penny is valuable. Many were struck in Philadelphia, where the P mint mark wasn't used on cents at the time. But the ones collectors crave, the ones worth hundreds of thousands, even up to $1.1 million, are the rare error strikes with unusual characteristics. Sharp details, strong strikes, pristine condition, and that unmistakable absence of a mint mark. Grading services confirm authenticity, and that's where the real money begins to flow. A coin in top condition, with that missing mint mark error, can set the auction world on fire. And once again, we're reminded that the tiniest flaw can transform something ordinary into something extraordinary. Think about it. This penny is smaller than a thumbnail, lighter than a paperclip, and yet its value rivals that of luxury cars, houses, even retirement accounts. That's the power of a minting mistake, multiplied by rarity, condition, and collector demand. So here's what you need to do. Dig through your old jars of change. Open that dusty coin album from your childhood. Check the 1987 pennies hiding at the bottom of your piggy bank. Turn each one over and look beneath the date. If you see a mint mark, it's just another penny. But if you don't, if that space is blank, you may be holding the key to $1 million treasure. Collectors spend their lives hunting for coins like this. Entire fortunes have been built on discoveries just like it. And yet, right now, it could be sitting unnoticed in your drawer, waiting for someone with sharp eyes to uncover its true value. This is your reminder. The next time you think a penny is worthless, think again. Because history has proven, time and time again, that one small coin can change everything. And in the case of the 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, that change could mean over $1 million. So check your change, trust your instincts, and keep searching. Because the next great coin discovery might not be in a museum, or locked in a vault. It might be in your hands already. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.